I'm Rob, and I'm addicted to gambling. Today, I'm going to watch the newest Coffeezilla video called The Gambling Epidemic and react alongside him. It's actually really cool to see larger creators making videos on this topic because I've been making content on it for 3 years, but sometimes it doesn't feel like it's reaching a very wide audience. So I'm happy that you're here. I'm happy that you stumbled upon this video. Hopefully my insights can shed some light on what it's like to be a gambling addict. And if you can relate to it, then you're totally in the right spot. Let's get into the video.
Gambling has changed. It used to be you'd lose your money on slots in Vegas, but today, not only can you do that, you can also bet on your favorite sports team, on the opening coin toss, on this individual pitch, or on all three in a parlay. You can do it from your phone, your tablet, your Apple Watch. You don't just have to gamble on sports, you can gamble on esports, on video game items, on slots with those items. You can do it in Roblox or on regular stocks, on meme stocks, gamble with calls, gamble on earning calls, gamble on calls with earning calls. You can gamble on political events, world events. You can bet if Zelensky's gonna wear a suit before July, if Jerome Powell's gonna say inflation 50 or 60 times in September. And you don't just have to gamble on that. You can gamble on crypto coins, Trump coin, Dogecoin, Fartcoin. You can gamble on the champion of Fartcoin coin, and you can gamble on any of the posts the champion of Fartcoin has ever made on whether they will become popular or not.
Yeah, I think I actually gambled on pretty much all of those platforms at least. Maybe not every specific bet because some of them are a little bit newer. I haven't gambled in a couple of years, but yeah, you can pretty much gamble on anything. It's been like that for years, but now it's just reaching mainstream media, and I'm really excited for this. It was pretty funny how he talked so fast about exactly what was exactly how much stuff you can gamble on, because it feels overwhelming, right? But let's just hear what he has to say. I'm really excited for this one.
And if none of that's your cup of tea, you can also just gamble directly within your banking app on a game of roulette.
Really?
Like a gentleman. And don't even get me started
That's crazy.
on the ads. You turn on
what was that?
Game of roulette.
Yada. Okay, I'm gonna make a note of that. Yada. Jeez.
Like a gentleman. And don't even get me started on the ads. You turn on sports, esports, podcasts. Not even my favorite political show is safe.
Shout out to Prize Picks, the best app to fire on sports in the game.
You will be bombarded with gambling ads by every famous person you've ever heard of.
Yep.
DraftKings.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
DraftKings Sportsbook.
Uh-oh.
How did we get here? And is it a good thing that we're turning every spare moment of our lives into a game of chance?
I think we're going to see this giant string of apologies from celebrities within the next couple of years. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that I represented this. I had no idea how much damage it would do. I would imagine similar to any celebrities that maybe endorse tobacco.
I'm betting no.
Yeah, this is hype. Such a high quality creator coming and making a video in this space. It's like kind of, it's gratifying in a way because it's been a long time making these videos. The gamification of America. Let's do it.
There are three things responsible for gambling becoming more mainstream, but the first and biggest trend is simply the mainstream becoming more like gambling. See, Silicon Valley learned a decade ago that gambling mechanics are incredibly good for user retention, so they put them everywhere.
Yep.
Let's say you're shopping online. Well, now you can spin a wheel to unlock prizes. Or if you're playing video games, you can open a loot box, get some randomized items. You can even use those items as virtual currency in a casino we've made a 3-part series about.
Yeah, we reacted to that one too.
Maybe you don't have a problem with loot boxes for adults, but we've also put them in kids' video games because, gotta start them young.
Right, kids are getting really used to this idea of risk reward, and kids literally as young as 7 or 8 years old are gambling. They're just gambling. There's really no sugarcoating it. And most parents just have no idea because it's kind of harmless. It appears in a video game, but who knows what it's going to lead to in a couple of years. We still don't know because these kids are still not even the age by which they're supposed to be gambling.
Roblox is the largest game for minors, and they are stuffed with randomized loot boxes. But even if that's fine for you, what about the third-party websites which, against TOS, allow full gambling based on a kid's game?
Yep.
And yes, there are actual kids gambling on these apps.
Right, I just won a bit of profit there. I had 200 Robux. No, I had 200 Robux in profit, 100 Robux in profit, but I lost them. But I had 50 Robux and I lost it, and I thought I got 50 Robux again. So on this, mine's on Robux World, what I'm gonna do is buy 40 crates now. No, not 40 crates, but 44 crates. That looks good.
That's literally a slot machine.
Let's go. Let's go. We're in profit. Let's go.
It is absolutely disgusting to see that. And look, I spoke to an insider who worked on this website, Roblox Wild, before it got shut down. He shared data which claimed they made $5,000 a day, or roughly $2 million a year. Thankfully, this website got shut down, but third-party gambling sites still persist because copying casinos makes a ton of money. And that's why we've been putting it into everything, including our politics. Prediction markets are the answer to the question of what if we could YOLO on election results and world events?
Listen, I'm self-excluded from every casino and sportsbook I ever played on. Like, I have banned myself from playing, but the way that I found out who won the US presidential election was going on my Robinhood app and seeing the prediction market in real time. Like, that's how I got my news, actually, which is probably a really, really bad thing, but it just goes to show, you know, you can't get away from gambling no matter what you do.
The biggest websites are Polymarket and Kalshi, which have exploded in popularity during the American election cycle. But it isn't just major events that attract bettors. I was recently asked to investigate whether this was a suit that Zelensky was wearing. Why? Well, the prediction market had bet $200 million in betting volume on this bet. And some of them were really mad that they decided, no, this is not a suit, I guess. Whether you think it is or not, the volume of betting here is insane. And one reason for that is because these companies are exploiting loopholes that allow betting even in states where normal gambling is illegal.
I was just in Texas for a conference, and a lot of the people there were like, there's no gambling in our state. Gambling's illegal in our state. And then one of the guys that I was on a panel with, just to prove the point, like took out his phone while someone was saying, there's no gambling in this state. You don't know what you're talking about. And he tapped a couple buttons and he's like, I just put $100 on the Mavericks to win. And it was just like, the crowd was like, what is he talking about? How did he do that? But yeah, these poly markets, these Kalshis and Robinhoods, they've created an environment where you can gamble 24/7 in any state, even where it's technically illegal.
Because these companies say they're not a casino, so they don't fall under the same rules, which is why instead of having to be 21, you can now gamble at 18 on prediction markets. And while there have been legal challenges to this, both of the major companies, Kalshi and Polymarket, have recently brought on the president's son as an advisor, making it hard to see how they're gonna be meaningfully regulated.
South Park did a episode on literally this topic. I wanted to react to it, but every time we tried, the screen would go black because of the way that the streaming platform worked. But they literally made this episode where every helpline that they called to try to get a bet taken down in the episode off of, I believe it was Kalshi, it went to Trump's son, and he just answered it because he's got his hand in so many different things. Do you really think anything's going to change when the most powerful people in the country are making money off of it? I'm skeptical.
Meanwhile, all the major betting apps are busy launching their own prediction market copycats to get around the same weak rules that we still have regarding betting. And don't even get me started on the other loopholes that are out there. Have you ever heard of the TikTok of sports wagering?
This is Cheddar. We're building the TikTok of sports wagering. Legal in 20 more states than DraftKings. Accessible for 18 to 21-year-olds.
I love that the selling point is we're available where it's illegal and we're marketing to 18-year-olds. Like, those are the two selling points of this app.
Live in-game micro betting. Swipe to predict every moment of every play.
I'm going to stop you right there. If you missed it, Cheddar is a new startup trying to combine DraftKings, TikTok, and Tinder features into one app. And one of the things they brag about is they're allowing 18 to 21-year-olds as a competitive edge. Guys, can you believe the untapped market of teenagers for gambling? Now, to be fair, Cheddar has not launched yet, but this is obviously the future we're heading towards, turning everything into a maximally addictive gambling product.
Yeah, we did see that like Amazon just partnered with, I believe it was FanDuel, to provide one-click betting from your TV during NFL games that are streamed on the platform. I think the inevitable outcome is just gambling on everything within one click as technology moves to be more wearable technology and like kind of like living in VR, living with VR. I do think we're going to see gambling become even more addictive.
It's sports wagering with the pace of a slot machine.
Yeah. Isn't that the most dystopian thing you've ever heard? We're trying to turn sports betting into slot machines. I mean, the funny thing is this whole product is built around yet another loophole called a sweepstakes casino, and that's how they get around the 21-year-old age requirement. Here's how it basically works. Sweepstakes casinos claim that you don't actually need to purchase anything to play, so it's kind of not gambling. In fact, you can get free coins to access their games, but they also have a second currency which you can buy. Well, not buy. You get it for free when you buy the worthless coins. For example, their website says if you buy 100 Cheddar coins, you get 5 bonus Cheddar cash. And that's usually what you can gamble with and redeem for real money.
These loopholes that exist, as he's about to point out with stake as well, it's the reason that kids are basically getting hooked to gambling. And it's such obvious like loopholes. Like, guys, they're doing one intermediary exchange between your real life dollars and their in-game currencies so that it's technically not gambling. Like, I feel like laws should cover common sense. This is common sense that they're just adding this intermediary thing to make it legal. It's the same with like daily fantasy sports. They lobbied so hard, the casino industry, to tell you that it's not gambling, but it's a game of skill. And that's the literal game that got me addicted to gambling.
This is actually how Stake US works. If you didn't know, Stake International is one of the world's largest casinos, but they aren't allowed here in the United States. So they have an American arm, which is a sweepstakes casino, which has gold coins and stake cash. One Redditor explains how the loophole really works. Quote, 1 stake cash is 1 USD. They only use gold coins because they need to say that you aren't gambling with real money to stay open in the US. Except, of course, you are actually gambling with real money. They just have a virtual currency workaround, which basically everyone has figured out. Some casinos are just kind of more honest about it than others. Cheddar's basically saying the quiet part out loud. They're going after 18 to 21-year-olds with TikTok, Tinder, sports betting at the pace of slots. And by the way, people are betting on their success. They're actually in a cohort of startups invested in by a Silicon Valley investment firm called A16Z. But if you think that's a bad idea, now let's talk about banks and gambling. I recently made a video on Yada, which was a fintech, which is a complicated story. We've done a ton of work on here and here. But basically, the original pitch was a no-lose lottery, which gamified savings. Lots of YouTubers worked with them, and they acted like a bank, at least at first, until they switched their new business model to be about allowing you to gamble inside the app and lose money, essentially becoming a casino within what is essentially a bank account. Now, I should actually note that Yada recently shut down the banking side and have fully focused on the sweepstakes casino part.
Yeah, let's just go after where the most money is. You know, I think we're seeing like everything move towards riskier behavior, like banks and investing, like something like a Robinhood, right? A couple years ago, it was stocks and options. Now it's stocks, options, and prediction markets. Now something like this Yada was like a bank and a slot machine at the same time. Like it's just getting ridiculous. So how much longer until we see something like Bank of America roulette or, you know, Charles Schwab mines? Like, ooh, this is just getting outrageous, isn't it?
I guess it's a more profitable business, but it's a sign of the times that everyone is moving their app more towards gambling, and finance is going the same way. On August 19, 2025, the investing app Robinhood announced they are bringing sports betting prediction markets to their app. In the announcement, the vice president of Robinhood claimed sports betting was a, quote, no-brainer, as we aim to make Robinhood a one-stop shop for all your investing and trading needs. AKA, we noticed people were leaving to other apps.
Yeah.
We don't like that.
That happened during COVID, right? Like everyone went over to Robinhood because there was no sports on. So everyone was just buying options. And that was when the meme stock craze, like GameStop and AMC, really hit. And then once sports came back on, people moved their money back over to the FanDuel and the DraftKings. And so they just want to be the one place where you go to lose money, I guess.
Like you to never leave our app. And ironically, the very next day, FanDuel, a sports betting app, announced they were bringing stock market betting to their customers.
But I will ask you about what some call the gamification of markets. Why this move? Why FanDuel? Why now?
For us to have a partner like FanDuel and be able to have 14 million accounts on day one, I'm not becoming a casino, contrary to popular opinion. I didn't buy a casino. These are markets that will be offered to the general public, and we think is massively exciting of what it could do.
And you couldn't have a more perfect image of how
answer.
finance is embracing the casinos and vice versa. Actually, correction, you can have a more perfect image because after I wrote this, the New York Stock Exchange's owner invested $2 billion into Polymarket.
What?
So actually, this is the perfect image of where we are.
Wow.
And the result is a lot of young people now see the stock market as kind of more like a betting market.
Yeah.
The most popular group on Reddit is Personal Finance with about 21 million followers. In second place, Wall Street Bets. where gambling on the stock market is embraced and celebrated. It grew the most during the meme stock craze of 2020, which shifted how some people thought about investing. Instead of being driven by earnings, prices, or fundamentals, people gambled on memes, attention, and vibes. People are chasing bigger returns and taking on bigger risks to do so. One measure of this is the amount of debt people are taking out to invest. Margin debt is at an all-time high of $1 trillion, which even on an inflation-adjusted basis is near all-time highs and up 5x over the last few decades. Not only that, the rapid growth of zero-day options by retail traders is also a telltale sign. It's grown 5x in volume over 5 years, showing that people are trying to gamble more. Zero-day options are the stock trader equivalent of red or black at the casino.
This is exactly what I got hooked on for a really long time. I would basically wait for like Federal Reserve meetings, and the guy Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, he would come out and he would announce whether or not, you know, there was a rate cut. And the market, the like broad market, would usually move like 1 or 2% either way. And so, as he just said, it was like roulette. I would go, and based on vibes alone, I'd pick up or down. And then I would watch this guy speak about policies I didn't even understand, and just watch the market move up and down with every single word that he said. It was literally just like picking red or black. And then oftentimes, even if I was up, I would hold out. And then the market would swing back the other way, and I would lose. So, yeah, I did that too.
Fast action, massive wins or losses on a single day. But if the stock market is America's casino, then meme coins are basically the back alley bookie who will break your legs. Bigger price swings, faster action. Meme coins are even more degenerate than meme stocks and pump and dump usually within a single day. Among the people who trade these, pump.fun is the leading destination as the one-click launchpad. Anyone can make a meme coin in seconds, and there is no value in it other than the expectation that someone might be more foolish than you and buy at a higher price than you did. And of course, Pump.Fun is happy to take a cut and make most of the money. Most traders will lose, but now you can also get a cut if you're a content creator who pushes one of these coins.
I just made a video on this where it was Trump, it was Kanye West, and it was Kim Kardashian who were kind of promoting coins. I hope he dives into it next, but it's this idea like just leveraging your audience, leveraging your celebrity status to manipulate people into buying something that has no underlying value. But someone who's addicted to gambling might be like, man, I know it's a scam, but maybe I can make some money before it gets pulled, the rug pull. And that's something that I tried to do many times, of course, unsuccessfully.
We've seen the same thing from launchpads like Meteora. They allow creators to have a split of some of the trading fees, and it kind of democratizes the grift. Now, anyone can farm their followers and fans for money. You don't have to be particularly sophisticated, and that's actually how Trump made millions of dollars in fees with Trump meme coin without ever selling. He just farmed the fees. And to be clear, this money doesn't magically appear. It's being siphoned away from regular people who mostly lose. It creates a sad ecosystem where most creators are racing to the bottom for attention to get their audiences to pump their worthless coins, leading to a predictable spiral where most are scamming, rage baiting, or otherwise trying to shock each other into becoming the biggest grift of the day.
Hi. Cups got drained.
Thanks for the 20 bandos.
It's ripping.
What?
If you've ever heard of a zero-sum game where someone has to win for the other one to lose, meme coins are negative sum because of all the trading fees. Most people, by definition, will lose. The real winner, of course, is Pump.Fun and people pushing it. According to one analysis, they've generated revenues of over $800 million for themselves, while almost none of the traders have made significant profits. According to one analysis, 0.4% of all traders will ever make over $10,000. So almost no one. And look, the reason we're going through all of this is to explain the many ways that gambling is no longer just about slots, cards, brick and mortar casinos.
Totally different.
We've injected it into every conceivable aspect of our lives.
And that's exactly why people are having gambling addictions younger than before. It's why people are starting to look more like me and not like Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems. It's because everything is now gambling. It's online. It can be done faster than ever before. So people can go broke faster than ever before too.
That has two effects. One, it's inescapable. You cannot avoid gambling by avoiding Vegas anymore. It's literally everywhere. And then two, it's also harder to understand and study because most researchers are studying like casinos, sports betting, but so much of gambling is not that anymore. So as we get to the numbers of this stuff, remember, everything's going to be an undercount. But it is still important to talk about those casinos, and that's where we're going to shift now. Starting with the biggest trend that has happened for these casinos, and number 2 on our reason, which is sports gambling becoming legalized.
Right.
Rewind the clocks for a second back to 2018 when the Supreme Court overturned a federal ban. At the time, basically, you could only sports bet in Nevada, but
And that was our wonderful governor in New Jersey who decided that gambling, and sports betting specifically, would be the way that we survived as a state in terms of our state budget. Thanks, Murphy. Anyways, look at what kind of hell has been released because of that.
after this, you can see in a few years, we've completely flipped on the issue. Most states now allow sports betting, and along with that, the advertising budgets for these companies is absolutely enormous. DraftKings, FanDuel, Underdog, Prize Picks, they've spent hundreds of millions of dollars getting celebrities and influencers to push their product every year, and man, has it worked. As I'm writing this, the #1 sports app on the App Store is not sports, it's not ESPN. ESPN and the NFL are second and third. The #1 sports app is actually DraftKings. And in the top 10, half of those apps are sports betting. Which is insane. There are two reasons for this. Obviously, one, hundreds of millions in advertising, but the second is what are called inducements, which is when these apps will incentivize players to download them and place a bet.
As a gambling addict, I was induced many, many times to go and place bets on different platforms. So it's all those commercials that say like bet $5, win 200. I think I literally took every single inducement that I had access to in order to fuel my gambling. And I'm someone that gambled for like literally 12 hours a day for years, just constantly preoccupied with it. I was their exact target demographic as an 18 to 24-year-old by the time that I quit. These inducements are things that are really highly targeted as well. They use AI, which I hope Coffeezilla goes into later on in the episode. They use AI to send you specifically the perfect bet for you based on your past gambling behavior. And they have a amount calculated behind the scenes to know how much they can spend on you to get you re-engaged when you stop playing or to try to distance yourself from gambling to get you back in before it becomes unprofitable. These casinos are highly, highly intelligent, and they use everything within their power to inflict damage on their users because, hey, they only win when we lose.
Sometimes literally offering what seems like free money.
It's got an NFL.
Thanks,
Don't play with me. Just turned $5 into $150 in bonus bets.
New customers bet $5, get $300 in bonus bets if you win.
New customers get risk-free bets up to $2,000.
Now look, the reason casinos do this is kind of obvious. If they can make you place one bet, they're more likely to place the second, third, and 100th. But even setting aside the fine print of these weird offers, does it not strike anyone else as weird that we're allowing gambling companies to give away free stuff? Imagine the cigarette industry told you, buy your first pack, get 50 free packs free to get you started. Imagine Budweiser said, shotgun one, they'll send you a case for fun. It's insane. And yet, that's exactly what these sports betting apps are doing.
Absolutely.
It's the lifeblood of how they get new players. And once you're in, these apps will also cater to their biggest players, biggest losers, called VIPs. They will send them gifts as they spend their life savings. And there have been multiple lawsuits actually about this. And to make it worse, if you do the opposite and you actually win too much on these apps, they will try to limit your betting, as one investigation found.
One of my friends is the lawyer that represents a lot of the VIP cases, and the things that they do to re-engage people are just disgusting. And I've even heard stories of people who have self-excluded, basically banning themselves from casinos, and they still get messages from their VIP hosts trying to re-engage them because the casinos don't care. No one cares about gambling addicts. Until enough people are struggling, nothing's going to change.
If you show any real ability to effectively handicap a game and beat the sportsbook, they will limit your bets and essentially kick you out of the sportsbook. They will not let you win.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how sportsbooks treat you once you start winning?
They don't want to accept your bets.
Yeah, it turns out the casinos actually hate the exact player that's featured in all of their advertisements. The guy who actually wins too much money. Which is actually so crooked when you think about it, that if you're one of the few people who achieves what they're promoting, they actually don't want you. Now, as I was writing this story, another massive scandal actually broke in the sports betting world, which is even more corrupt than not allowing winners.
But as you now know, individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches.
This is going to keep happening.
What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years.
That's right, the FBI just exposed a massive sports rigging scheme that was using these apps to win money on rigged basketball games. One example of this was March 23rd, 2023, when an NBA player, Terry Rozier, told a friend ahead of time that he was going to go out early on a foot injury. And so that night, $200,000 in bets were placed on his underperformance because no one else knew that he was injured. And a few minutes after Terry kind of limping around, he left the game and the bets paid off.
Makes me think, like, how many of my bets were supposed to win, but then they actually didn't. You know, I think back, like, damn, was I getting screwed too by this kind of stuff back in, 2020, 2021? Probably. But the truth is, like, it doesn't even matter for someone like me, because when we start gambling, we don't stop. But it just does suck to think about all the manipulation and all the lies and all the false beliefs that went into it and just the horrible feelings that it created, when in reality, there were people behind the scenes profiting the whole time.
A few days later, Terry Rozier and his friend allegedly counted the money at his house from the fraudulent wagering scheme. And this was one of several rigged games the FBI alleged, but the media was quick to point out this isn't even the first time someone was caught doing something like this.
Jonte Porter, who played for the Toronto Raptors, has already pled guilty. He's already pled guilty. He's awaiting sentencing for doing just what Rozier and Jones are accused of. So
ironic that they're sponsored by Robinhood. I guess, like, out of context, it doesn't really matter. But in the context of this video, it's like the gambling is on his shirt. And it's something that he's doing, but he's expected not to do it. The leagues can profit, but the players can't. But the players try to profit, and then it undermines everything.
Train has already left the station, Laura, and I have to tell you, when Jeff Teague, an NBA player, says, oh, there's betting everywhere, it is everywhere. I've done ads for DraftKings. LeBron James has done ads for DraftKings. In fact, ESPN, when they were reporting this story this morning, they're having programming, people talking just like you and me, talking about this scandal on the press conference the FBI was giving, and underneath them on the ticker was an ad for ESPN Bet, which is ESPN's own sports book.
Yeah, the irony of all of this is that the same people who condemn illegal betting going on are simultaneously pushing the sports books, which create the opportunity. And at some point, the producers on ESPN actually noticed it. And see if you can spot the moment they try to fix the sportsbook ad in the corner.
You hear a lot about legal sports gambling on this show. The Bussin' Boys, obviously sports gambling is a huge part of what you do, so we put those all out there as a preamble because it might be in the back of people's minds, and we acknowledge that this is a different time and place. However, there is a
Did that actually happen?
There is a bold line that obviously has to be drawn.
Well, that's a little awkward. You're actually supposed to remove the ad for sports betting before talking about sports rigging. And honestly, we've only hit the tip of the iceberg here, because we've since learned these professional leagues are useless at catching this stuff.
Are they useless, or are they just kind of stalling because they're making a bunch of money in the interim period? I mean, the moment that regulation comes in, the moment that people start saying you shouldn't market this, you shouldn't do this, they're going to start making less money. So they're trying to squeeze as much value out of the situation as they possibly can. The leagues are cut in on deals, massive deals to sell their data to sportsbooks. It's obvious why they haven't caught as many people as they should have.
Turns out the NBA already investigated Terry Rozier before the FBI indictment for that exact game, and they cleared him because the NBA commissioner said there was insufficient evidence.
Ultimately concluded that there was insufficient evidence.
Surplus profit.
Despite that aberrational behavior to move forward.
Right. So even with aberrational activity, they had the right game, the right guy, and the NBA couldn't find enough evidence. I mean, the more money that goes into sports betting, the more this will be a problem. And the leagues are clearly not equipped to handle it. But people just look the other way because the money's too good. And I want to now address the size of these betting markets, because they're absolutely enormous in ways most people don't understand. And to get our heads around it, we're going to look at some survey numbers. One study estimates that 22% of all Americans and almost half of men my age have an online sports betting account. Another estimates that 1 in 4 people have placed a bet on sports, and 1 in 5 have placed a bet in the last year. Like with all surveys, there's margins of error here, but the data mostly agrees. Sports betting is very widespread and extremely popular among young men. And for the ones who get addicted, it's financially devastating. One recent study looked at Americans' finances before and after sports betting was legalized by their state. They found that bankruptcy rates rise approximately 10% after legalization. Another paper looked at financial stability, noting that for households that do bet, they spend on average about $720 a year sports betting. And the study found that for every dollar someone deposits for betting, there's a reduction in net investments of just under $1.
That's a big point. So that's why groups like Robinhood are getting involved in this fight, because they don't want to lose that dollar. They want to keep it on platform because people are spending their money gambling. They're thinking, why would I put money into a 401k when I could just put it into a parlay and get rich right now? And it's still a really tough mindset shift for me. It's like putting all my investments into a 401k so that I don't feel tempted to gamble them, basically, or day trade them, is really something that I still struggle with to this day, 3 years later. But it shows exactly why all of these financial markets are going to get involved with gambling.
As people gamble more, they invest less, which means their financial future is worse.
Right.
Makes sense. But this is especially true of problem gamblers or gambling addicts.
Yeah.
To be clear, this is not something that affects all gamblers. Roughly 1% of the world population suffers from this.
Coffee. Come on, man. We have to remember that these are self-reported numbers. It's not 1% of the world population. You have to look at the percentage of the world population that's dealing with some type of gambling problem on the entire scale. When we look at something like this 1%, we're looking at someone who's at the absolute worst end of the spectrum, and it's still probably an underrepresentation of the truth. It's probably only half, because people struggling with a gambling addiction don't want to outwardly say it. They don't want to be known as a gambling addict. There's so much shame and stigma pushing these numbers down, and it's exactly what the gambling industry points to say this isn't a big problem. So let's note that this number is incredibly, incredibly low, because the reality is so many people that are gambling are doing it in a problematic way. Hope he steers the ship back around to make that point in a little bit.
It's more common among people who bet regularly and bet online. Two of the things that sports gambling encourages. Problem gambling completely obliterates people's finances and affects more than just the gambler, because as they beg, borrow, or steal to continue their addiction, they affect everyone around them. And I do mean steal.
The average gambling addict impacts between 6 to 10 other people. They're called affected others directly as a result of their gambling addiction on average. So we're looking at much worse, at least 6x worse than these numbers here in terms of the gross number of people that are impacted by this addiction.
Roughly half of gambling addicts will commit a crime, and most of those crimes are to continue gambling, often leading to a spiral where the addict doesn't see a way out, which is why problem gambling has one of the highest suicide rates of any substance
1
addictions.
in 5.
Full stop.
1 in 5 gambling addicts will attempt suicide at some point during their addiction. 1 in 5, 20%.
I don't get it. You know none of this matters, right?
Yeah.
You've tried this before with Roulette, CS2, and it did nothing.
Yep.
No, literally, I mean nothing. Absolute silence. All the moralizing, the anti-gambling, you're wasting your time.
Sad to think. Sad to think if that's true. Hopefully that's not the case, my friend.
Let me tell you a story. A year ago, I was offered $20,000 to do a video by casino. Now, I said no and made a whole series about it, but what I didn't tell you is that later I was offered $1 million to cover my legal fees in an ongoing case. Now, this was offered by a person who said they wanted to remain anonymous, no strings attached, very nice person. They said they wanted to just help out. Sounds great. But then I found out the money was coming from a sports betting company. They were one of the top people, and that's obviously a dilemma for me. I am publicly against gambling, and here this person's kind of privately telling me, well, gambling can pretty much solve all my problems. Pay my legal fees, they're telling me, oh, their company's regulated, it's fine, it's above board. Ultimately, I had to say no. Thank you for the offer, but, in my head, there's no such thing as $1 million, no strings attached.
I can't imagine.
And, obviously, I also can't take $1 million from a sports betting company and then go make a video criticizing sports betting.
Fair.
But it gave me pause and kind of gave me an aha moment that I was missing before, where I started to understand exactly how screwed we are. And this goes into our third reason gambling is winning. The casual way these casinos can throw around life-changing money for any normal person is why the data will never fix this. It's why having enough sad facts about addicts or interviewing people whose lives were ruined will not change things. Believe me, I've done it, and it's never moved the needle. To be honest, it's not even debatable that gambling is kind of bad for most people and life-destroying for a few. Even the industry kind of admits that. But the reason gambling is everywhere in spite of that is there is too much money in the game benefiting the people that make the final decisions.
Yes. I honestly think that in order for change to happen, in order for anything to go differently in terms of gambling and legalization and how much it's marketed, we need to see a severe amount of pain, and we need to see pain happening to the people that make the decisions. We need to see someone who's in a seat that would vote on legality have their kid get addicted to gambling. And that's sad. That's really sad to think about. Why do we have to go to such extreme lengths, have so much pain in order for something to change? But I believe that little by little, as we have these conversations, as we put ourselves in front of the right people, as we get congressional hearings, as we have people share their stories on news outlets and make videos like this, that little by little, it's going to start to make the casinos sweat. Because as public perception of them begins to change, everyone's going to become more critical of the things that do go wrong. So we're gearing up for a perfect storm of gambling just taking over this country and the world in general, if it hasn't already. But at the end of it, I do think there's an opportunity to change. It just unfortunately comes on the end of a lot of pain.
Right? Think about the states with tax revenue, the casino profits, the influencer payouts. There's a small group that gambling is incredible for. So incredible, it basically defies logic. I'm talking billions of dollars in profits. And if you want to understand why gambling is everywhere, you can't just look at the statistics. You have to look at the money. Yeah. And I want to show you exactly how this works with an example. This is Matthew. He's better known online as Nadeshot, and recently he took a gambling deal with an offshore crypto casino. And when he first talks about the deal, I want you to notice it's a little strange. He almost seems hesitant.
Boys, we just partnered with Rootbet, and before I say anything, don't gamble, okay? You will lose.
Bro, I just partnered with this big casino that I'm going to sell you for the next year, but don't gamble. It's just so fucking ridiculous.
I promise you, you're going to lose. But that's why I partnered with Rootbet, so they can pay me to gamble. So even when I lose, I'm still going to lose.
Yeah, it's pretty weird to hear someone say, don't gamble, guys, while announcing a partnership with a gambling company.
That's ridiculous.
Nadeshot implies that he may lose money, but in fact, he later admits that it's the most money he's ever been paid.
This is the biggest partnership that I've had in my entire career.
No, instead, I think the hesitancy, the weirdness of this video is because Nadeshot knows pushing gambling is kind of bad for people. He said so in a podcast a couple years ago.
I definitely think that people streaming on Twitch, all the crypto betting, certainly incentivizes younger kids to be more interested in crypto gambling. Like, I know personally people that should not have been gambling online, but because it's so easy to gamble with crypto, they did it when they could not afford to do it, and it has not worked out well for them.
Right. Nadeshot knows personally it's bad. But for the reason why he's doing it anyways, just fast forward 2 minutes in the podcast and we find out, because the host asks, a hypothetical. What if someone offered Nadeshot $100 million to promote gambling? And well, let's just say his tone changed.
I ain't turning down $100 million, bro. You got me fucked up, brother. I'll go on there and I will crypto gamble 24/7, dude. At that,
and it's honestly, it's hard to say bad on him because he understands what he's doing, but it's an insane amount of money. And it is scary because that's why there's going to be so many consequences for younger people. But we also can't expect the solution to come from within, right? It's not going to come from influencers saying no. They'll just find another influencer. It has to come from someone cracking down on this type of deal even existing. And unfortunately, it comes on the end, as I said, of a lot of pain.
At that point, man, it's the parents' fault. Hey, I'm just working over here. You're going to pay me more than LeBron? Brother, I would be lighting up, cash on fire, gambling crypto. I would sell my soul for 100 M's. Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
We should clip this. We should send this over to Kate.
I won't sleep. I will be your workhorse. You want me to pump blue chews and crypto gambling? I will do it all. You got me fucked up. Them kids, dude. Fuck them kids.
Look, I'm just going to say, you can say he's wrong for saying that. He's a bad person for saying that. But the reality is, this is why gambling is winning. Yeah. The casinos have so much money, they are buying people's souls. Even people who kind of admit gambling's kind of bad. Put enough money on the table, and Nadeshot says, hey, fuck them kids. And
literally,
by the way,
word
speaking of fucking them kids, let's talk about Drake.
W's in the shot.
It isn't just streamers or influencers taking deals. It's the biggest rapper on the planet.
200 million.
He signed a reported $100 million deal recently with Stake, the crypto casino, which is wild. There's really no endorsement deals like that anywhere else that hit those kind of numbers. And just like Nate Shot, Drake wants you to know that, even though he's taking the money, gambling isn't for everyone. Recently, he posted an $8 million loss, saying, gotta share the other side of gambling.
I'm currently making a video about this exact topic because Drake and Aiden Ross are getting sued in Missouri for promoting gambling to underage kids, and specifically this illegal gambling. They're calling it the crypto gambling. But that profit of $8 million down, even if it was on a monthly basis, which I believe that the numbers actually are, that means that he would go through his entire net worth in a couple of years. So it's very, very obvious that this is not his money, but it's being misrepresented as if it is. Another dangerous thing. This is not the other side of gambling for normal people because he's getting reimbursed by Stake.
Now, maybe some of you think that's brave, but to me, I see that and go, Drake, that is the only side of gambling for most people.
That's true.
If any normal person lost $8 million, their life is over and their legs are broken. You're the only one with another side to this whole thing. Where, to be clear, that other side is reportedly getting paid $100 million. And to be clear, it's a lot of people taking these deals. I'm not trying to single anyone out. Let's also take Kevin Hart, right? One of the world's smallest comedians. He pushes DraftKings. And this one I find really bizarre.
Do me a favor, man. Go to the DraftKings app. Look at what I'm betting on. Look at why I'm betting on. Place your bets. All the action is here. DraftKings, Kevin Hart.
I'm not even going to ask why Kevin needs you to get on DraftKings and bet. The fact is he's worth a reported $450 million.
That's why I always laugh when I see those commercials and he's betting $50. Bet $50 and get $200 for free. Whatever he says it, he's screaming it. And I'm thinking dog, you're worth $500 million. Do you expect us to believe that you're excited over this $200 free play? You're misleading people, specifically young people, oftentimes young, poor people, to go and gamble away all their money. That's your job. You're a scammer.
But the real thing I find so gross about this is that Kevin Hart has gone on podcasts and talked about the need for financial literacy. He talked about this on Joe Rogan.
The biggest problem within our community is knowledge. We don't know. Debt is welcomed because it's celebrated. That's all we know. The knowledge isn't given. So it's not till you obtain that knowledge and understanding that you go, oh,
it's just so contradictory.
This is why you put money up. This is how you increase versus decrease. Oh, this is how you earn on your money. Oh, wow. I can gain wealth by investing in what? The stock world is what? How many people partake in the stock world? And is there a part that isn't necessarily gambling? Is there a low risk part? The information isn't there.
Yeah, Kev, maybe the information isn't there on the stock market part, which isn't gambling, because you're too busy telling them about actual gambling. Understand that Kevin Hart is not just a guy who sometimes talks about it on podcasts either. He has a whole partnership, an actual partnership with Chase Bank, where they ran a campaign to improve financial literacy. But then Kevin goes on the side and he's pushing DraftKings, which preys on people's financial illiteracy. And while we're talking about small comedians with big bank accounts, let's talk about Joe Rogan too. And listen, I'm not trying to be high and mighty with all this stuff. I know it sounds a bit like that, but believe me, I am eye level with these guys. Okay? I'm very short too. You can't tell behind the $10 million studio desk, but no offense is intended here. We got to discuss though, how the biggest comedians in the world, biggest, smallest comedians, are pushing DraftKings. Didn't Joe get a $250 million deal from Spotify? I didn't realize before this video, how many gambling ads he has been running recently. In the month of September alone, there were 11 DraftKings ads in 14 videos. And with Joe especially, it's weird because he's the guy who rants against Big Pharma's manipulative advertising.
If you can advertise, you can manipulate people and change their opinion based on theatrics.
So many. Everyone gets a free bet.
Man, I just think that gambling just isn't taken as seriously as other substance problems. People don't look at gambling and say, this is just like Oxycontin. They don't look at it and say, this is just like cigarettes or this is just like alcohol. They say, oh, it's gambling. Just gamble responsibly, dude. Why don't you just stop? I don't get it. I don't understand why the public perception is that this is any different than these other forms of addiction. And it's showing that, like, on Rogan specifically here, he's like, oh, well, we call out Big Pharma for these manipulative tactics, but hey, there's no manipulative tactics with gambling advertising? Ah, dude, we're screwed.
Win? Hey, let's win together. You know what to do.
You have music and people dancing and holding hands and spinning around in a wheat field. Like, that is so manipulative. And we are subject to manipulation. And
you got to call a shit sandwich, and we just aren't doing it with gambling.
And it's something that is so important, like making critical health decisions. There's so many of these commercials. Like, so many times I'm watching television, I'm like, how many goddamn drug commercials are there?
By the way, I agree with them. We are being manipulated, but change a few words from that rant, and you could say the exact same thing about how gambling is pushed. Casinos are also manipulative. They don't advertise the actual reality where people lose. Instead, they say things like winning, cashing in, opportunity. And Joe Rogan's a part of that.
Every game is another chance to cash in. Don't just watch the action, win with it. Every snap is loaded with opportunity.
That is just as manipulative as pharma ads pushing pills that may end up addicting you. In both cases, the collateral damage are the addicts we created along the way. And I guess I have to ask, maybe people think, oh, one's worse than the other. Is there that much of a difference between a drug addict and a gambling addict?
No.
No, really, I'm asking.
It's like if you see the drug addict, you see him, he's shooting up or whatever it is, and you see him fainting, you go, oh, that poor bastard. But when you see a guy who's fully in the grips of gambling, trying to figure out how to get his money back, and he's all jazzed up with adrenaline, he doesn't understand why.
It's just like cocaine, it's just like drug abuse, it's just like the opiate problem, it's just like anything else. It could you and I both know people who have lost their lives gambling, okay?
And
You've seen people in pool halls. You see how they get, Joe Rogan. There's no difference in the drug addict and the gambling addict. Not at all. No difference.
So there is no difference. Then why do we shake our head at the Sackler family and pharmaceutical execs who push pills that ruin people's lives, but somehow nobody cares we're doing a very similar thing with gambling?
The big thing that the Sacklers did was they put the blame and the onus of addiction on the drug abuser, they called them. The addict was an abuser of the product. The product wasn't addictive, according to them. It was just a few people who took it too far. We see the same exact thing with gambling. Gamble responsibly. Call us if you have a problem. It puts all the onus on the gambler, like they aren't using multi-billion-dollar marketing schemes, giant AIs that know exactly how to get you addicted to gambling, and using this really complex and convoluted mechanism so that no matter what you bet, they are always coming out ahead. But it's the addict's fault, 100%, if we get hooked to it. Now, I don't think the answer is that it's 100% on either party, but for so long, it's been that if you get addicted to gambling, you lack self-control, you're morally weak, something is wrong with you. You have a gambling problem. That's not fair, and that's not reality. I hope this video has gone to prove that.
At every level of society, we are shoving this down people's throats. And it's not that I mind if people gamble individually, but we are pushing it on people who otherwise would not have done it because everything is gambling now, from sports to entertainment to investing. It is totally inescapable. And we're moving the casino from Vegas directly into people's pockets, connecting to their bank accounts.
And another point that he hasn't mentioned, and I doubt he will mention, is that these casinos can't exist without the addiction. You might think, like, why is it so bad if these casinos offer up a form of entertainment, right? Someone will just go and they'll spend a couple bucks, and win or lose, they'll be okay. Well, that's not their real target demographic. The casinos make upwards of 86% of their revenues off of 5% of their player base. The addicts. Is it not making sense?
I don't know exactly how this is going to end, but it doesn't take a genius to see where it's going to lead. Right. Gambling is going to be a much larger problem for people and especially young men. And the saddest part is there's no amount of data or facts that I can give you that's going to stop that. There's just too much money at stake.
Let's see his comments. Yeah, they follow the guidelines from the sponsors. Well, the sponsors aren't going to follow any guidelines because there's no one enforcing it against them. Doesn't matter if it's legal or illegal, it's the same exact marketing tactics going on. It's ridiculous.
Hey, come back to the bar and let me fix you a drink. The weather isn't changing anytime soon.
You know, all it would take is basic advertising rules or legislative change to put a stop to half of this stuff.
That's the thing. Money makes the world move, Coffee. And the people who write the rules like them just the way they are.
Mm-hmm. For now.
Do you really think it's worth all of this, though? Like, just for a little more money?
Hey, you said it yourself, didn't you? It's not just a little money. It's a lot more money. If people would sell their soul for $100 million, well, imagine what they do for billions.
You know, maybe it is time for that drink.
Damn, man.
You're gonna tip this time, right?
I mean, we'll have this roll in the back. It's just sad, right? Even the guy making the most impactful content in the space is disheartened by the reality of the future of what can be coming next. It is scary to think about what's going to come next, but I do know that there is a way to a better life. I quit gambling 3 years ago. I left it behind because, for me, it had created something that just was a shell of the life that I deserved to live. I don't want to see you or anyone that you love go through the same thing that I did, but if you are struggling, then my account's here to offer up some solutions. We're not going to be able to make those big societal changes today, but you can begin to live a better life individually today. I thought that I was the only person on earth that had a gambling addiction. I was being fed these lies by the casinos, by social media, that I was just a bad gambler. But the reality is, gambling isn't profitable, and there's millions of people out there suffering from gambling addiction. So if it's you, this is the place for you. And if you're not yet struggling, then I hope that you can learn from my experience so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. I want to share my story with you, actually. So if you would like to hear my story of gambling addiction, then I want you to watch this video next. We just need to keep getting better together, one day at a time, because it will get better.